very much, Leonie. And thank you all for attending this session. And I'd like to take the privilege of presenting my recent research in front of you. The title of my recent work is Deterioration of Health-Related Quality of Life, the Hidden Health Burden of Informal Caregiving. As Leonie said, I am working as a research fellow at the Center for Health Services Research at the University of Queensland. I'm basically an health economist, and my research area is mostly economic evaluation and some costing studies and some economic modeling. Thank you. Let me start. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the country. The University of Queensland acknowledges the traditional owners and their custodianship of the lands on which we meet. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. We recognize their valuable contributions to Australian and global society. Let me start with the background, like why I choose this topic. So as we know, informal caregiving is mostly an unpaid job and provided by mostly family members or friends to the elderly people or people living with some sort of disability or long-term health condition. Among the OECD countries, nearly 65% of informal caregivers are women. And when it comes to Australia, nearly 1 in 10 Australian adults provided informal caring. And there is evidence that informal caregiver has adverse health effects, and it's mostly mental health related problems like depression or anxiety. As I told before, I'm a health economist and my research area is economic evaluation. So what happens? So informal caregiving involves millions of individuals who spend billions of hours for caregiving. And this resource should be seen as scarce and valuable within the health system. So therefore, it is important to consider the value of this informal caregiving as part of the health technology assessment. So that's the reason why I took this study. I would like to see in this research how informal caregiving reduces the health-related quality of life of the informal caregiver. So my research is based on secondary data. I used the household income and labor dynamics in Australia survey. In short, we call it HILDA. This is one of the largest data set in the world. And it follows people, nearly 13,000 people, 13,000 households since 2021 for the indefinite period. So far, 21 waves data have been collected. And the research design that I followed is retrospective longitudinal research design. And the subjects of my research are individuals aged 15 years or over. And the period I choose is 16 years, and it covers 16 waves. So from 2006 until 2021. And I have constructed an unbalanced panel data consisting of nearly 200,000 person-year observation from nearly 27,000 unique individuals. So I would like to give you a brief of the outcome variable. The outcome variable for this study is health-related quality of life. And in the HILDA survey, health-related quality of life is measured through short-form survey instrument. In short, we call it SF36. So the SF36 health survey is consisting of 36 questions that covers 8 domains. The domains are physical function, role physical, body pain, general health, vitality, social functioning, role emotional, and mental health. From these 8 dimensions, to measure health-related quality of life, we I have created physical component summary score, mental component summary score, and SF6D utility score. Physical component summary score is basically created through 4 dimensions of SF36 that are physical functioning, role physical, body pain, and general health. Mental component summary score is derived using role emotional, social functioning, mental health, and vitality. So I used Australian algorithms to create physical component summary and mental component summary, and the and this PCS and MCS score was transformed into a mean of 50 and standard deviation of 10, and the final values of PCS score ranges from 4.54 to 76.09, and MCS score ranges from minus 1.21 to 76.19. The higher the score, it indicates better physical or mental health. And SF6D, basically, this is a utility score, and it is widely used in economic evaluation. And this SF6D is derived from 6 dimensions of the SF36 questionnaire: physical functioning, role physical, role emotional, social functioning, vitality, and body pain. So general health and mental health weren't considered to calculate calculate SF6D utility score, and the SF6D utility score ranges between 0.29 to 1. 1 indicates a person with full health, and 0.29 indicates worst health state. Let's talk a bit about the main exposure variable. So for this study, the main exposure variable is informal caregiving. So in the Hilder survey, there was a question. They asked respondents about how much time they spent caring for a disabled spouse, adult relative, or elderly parent or parent-in-law in a typical week. And the responses were taken in continuous form. So from this continuous data, I have created a categorical variable following previous research. So if a person says they spend 0 hours, I classified them as non-caregiver. If someone has a responsibility less than 5 hours a week, I defined them lighter caregiving. 5 to 19 hours per week, moderate caregiving. And if someone says 20 hours or more per week, I classify them as intensive caregiving. Since my target is to predict how informal caregiving reduces health-related quality of life, so to have a precise estimate, I incorporated a large number of control variables that has some influence on health-related quality of life. So under 6 domain, I have considered a lot of covariates. So for example, I considered 8 variables as part of socio-demographic characteristics like age, gender, relationship status, region of residence. Similarly, I also considered 3 health-related behaviors like smoking, alcohol, and physical activity, and for 2 health-related characteristics like BMI and disability, and some stressful life events like 2 personal stressful life events like victim of physical violence and personal injury or illness to self. So here you see how I selected the sample. So for this study, I performed complete case analysis. So if there is any missing observation of the SF36 questionnaires, I drop them. And if there is any missing observation on the informal caregiving variable, I also drop them. So finally, I'm left with nearly 200,000 yearly observations. Here, I give you trending of the proportion of informal caregiving. So in the first slide, I explained that in Australia, nearly 1 in 10 Australian adults have performed some sort of informal caregiving. So from this figure, you will see from 2006 to 2021, a trend of the informal caregiving. So nearly 4% adult perform lighter caregiving, around 3.5% perform moderate caregiving, and 1.5 to 2% perform intensive caregiving. Here I report the trend of main outcome variables: physical component summary, mental component summary, and SF6D score. So if you look at the upper panel, you will see physical component summary score is more or less same and slightly increased after 2018, but mental component summary score declines after 2018. In fact, over the time, slightly mental component summary score declines. And when we look at the SF6D utility score, it also shows a declining trend. Now I show the distribution, trending of the mean values of all the 8 dimensions of SF36. So overall, all the dimensions, average dimensions are pretty good. Out of a 0 to 100 scale, we see all the health indicators shows pretty good condition, except general health and vitality. So if you look at the trend, general health score lies less than 70, and vitality scores around 60 and less. Here I show the outcome variables by informal caregiving. So if you look at these 3 figures, you will see both physical component summary, mental component summary, and SF60 utility score is lowest for the persons who have intensive caregiving duties. And this PCS, MCS, and utility score is highest for the persons who do not engaged in any caregiving activities. And it's and if you look at the other things, lighter caregiving and moderate caregiving, it's up to the expected values we got. If a person has lighter caregiving, their quality of life components slightly lower than persons who have no caregiving responsibilities. Similarly, for all other 8 dimensions, we see the same trend. That means a person with intensive caregiving duties has lower health-related quality of life. Look at all components, from physical functioning, role physical, role emotional, social functioning, mental health, vitality, body pain, and general health. In all the aspects, persons with intensive caregiving duties has the lower score compared to a person with no caregiving responsibilities. Here in this table, you will see the transition probabilities of informal caregiving. So a person who was a non-caregiver, it indicates that nearly 96% become non-carer for the study period. And when a person has non-caregiving responsibilities, only 2.5% have lighter caregiving responsibilities in the study period. Similarly, if among the persons who have intensive caregiving responsibilities at the baseline, among them 54% has the same intensive caregiving responsibilities, and from them 25% become non-caregiver, 2.19% lighter caregiving, and 18.11% become moderate caregiver. Here I report the regression results. So this is the main things that I need to, that I need to disclose. So we see, if you look at the model 3, it means intensive caregiving, all the categories of intensive caregiving, lighter, moderate, or intensive caregiving, reduces the utility score, I mean health related quality of life of the informal caregiver. However, the magnitude differs. For example, lighter caregiving, you see the utility score is reduced by 0.003%. But if you look at the intensive caregiving, it's a bit higher, 0.010 unit of utility score. And in terms of mental component summary score, only moderate and intensive caregiving responsibility reduces, but for PCS it's not applicable. Here I report the impact of lighter, moderate, and intensive caregiving on all the SF36 subscales. So I found, except physical functioning, intensive caregiving reduces all aspects of health-related quality of life. Here, I would like to see the robustness of the result I got initially. So I performed a different regression technique, I mean random effect regression technique, to see the between person differences, and I found the almost same result that when I used fixed effect regression to see the within person differences. So again, I see lighter, moderate, and intensive caregiving reduces the SF6D utility score, and again, it also reduces the mental component summary score. But however, no impact on the physical component summary score. And the second panel of the table shows that random to see if different regression technique, I mean if there is any between person differences in the effect of lighter, moderate, and intensive caregiving on the SF36 subscales. So again, we found the same result like before, except physical functioning, intensive caregiving reduces all aspects of health-related quality of life, like role physical, role emotional, social functioning, mental health, vitality, body pain, and general health. Here, I would like to see the heterogeneous effects of informal caregiving. Since women are mostly engaged in informal caregiving, so my idea is, if gender changes, whether this intensive caregiving has any different effects on the health-related quality of life. So what I found, like lighter, moderate, and intensive caregiving reduces the SF6D utility score for female. But in case of male, only intensive caregiving reduces the SF6D utility score. No effect on the utility score when a person is male and has lighter or moderate caregiving responsibilities. Here again, I would like to see if caregiving responsibilities reduces other dimensions of health-related quality of life, and check whether it's varied by gender. So, like before, we see in case of female, except physical functioning, intensive caregiving and moderate caregiving reduces all aspects of health-related quality of life. However, in case of male, only role physical social functioning and mental health score was reduced by intensive caregiving responsibility in case of male. And in case of moderate caregiving, only role emotional and mental health. So the findings is the quality of life is affected by informal caregiving. However, the magnitude changes, or we see heterogeneous effects by gender. So basically, this is the main outcome of my study. I'd like to see. I found that informal caregiving has a direct health burden, and my findings will assist health technology assessment practitioners in performing an economic evaluation of interventions given to caregivers by providing this utility associated with informal caregiving. There are some limitations of my study. Firstly, the findings could be susceptible to bias due to the use of self-reported data on outcome and main exposure variables. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a great great information, and as a few people said, it's very meaningful study and a lot of confronting data, and it just makes you wonder how we're going to be able to make a difference in this field. Look, we running out of time, not running out of time, but on time. So I think the best thing to do might be to go on to our next speaker, if that's okay.
Thanks, Leona.
Yes, thank you so much. Just so that we can keep on time, but there were some great comments throughout the chat. So